Welcome back to the Armed and Anointed podcast. That's right. This is the first episode with a new name, and I have a guest I am so excited about, my coach, Nick Comodina. Welcome, Nick.
What's up, squad? How we doing?
Good. I'm excited for this. As been going through a bit of a shift lately, and Nick's just been
A
he's been the
bit.
voice. It's been a big one, and Nick's just been my honest dumping place, like my grounding place. I'm so grateful for your very logical male brain. It has saved my life lately.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. And we didn't plan this podcast. And he's like, what are we doing today? And I'm like, we're talking on the
Perfect.
fly.
Line it up. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
this is the first episode of the new podcast, you said.
First episode with the new name. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
hmm
So, what exactly does the new name mean to you?
Oh, that's a good one. So, Armed and Anointed came to me while I was walking to breakfast in Tulum last week. And I just felt like this whole journey has been arming me for the next stage, like to be prepared for what I'm supposed to do. And well, I was at actually your event in June, the last day I was there, I did that breathwork session.
Our event.
Our event, yes, I'm part of the community now. Love that for me. And God asked me in it, He laid me down and said, do you accept the purpose that I have for you? And me being me, you'll die. I was like, what is it? He's like, that's not how it works. Do you accept it? And I was like, yeah. And He anointed my forehead and said, go forth and do it then. So I just feel like I was armed and anointed to create something in this next chapter. And that's what this is.
Wow, profound. It's
Yeah.
it's very hard. It's very hard for people to commit to something without knowing all of the details, which is why most people stay stuck. And like this is why at our events I never give out an itinerary because
I like it.
people need to learn how to surrender. And life is not predictable. Life is extremely unpredictable. But if you were able to be certain about everything, well, then there would be no need for faith.
Yeah, and that's been my journey lately. And the worst part was that I knew it required faith. I
Mm.
knew it did, and I still resisted. And I just like held on like a freaking toddler to my plan, like a toy, being like, I'm not giving this up. It's mine. I like it.
Hmm.
And I had this like one toy, and there's a whole toy chest sitting on the other side of the door, and I just can't see it. And God's
Yeah.
like, give me the toy. And I'm like, no, I like this toy. Like, this is my favorite. I know the sounds. It's good lights. Like, I'm not giving it up. And I knew that when I did, there would be something there, but I resisted all summer. It was
That's a really
complete.
good, that's a really good visual. Like that was a great visualization. Like you're fighting to hold this toy and he's like, "Okay, you don't understand. I've got a whole chest of
Yeah.
better, bigger, more fun toys on the other side. But if you want to be a brat and keep that toy, okay, I'll go give all these toys to someone else."
Yes. And that's something I saw the other day was like, you don't miss the opportunity, somebody else takes it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's got to, it's you were the chosen channel. If you don't accept, that has to come to the world in some way, shape, or form. So if you are disobedient, it will go to somebody who is obedient. And then you will
Yeah.
see somebody else live the life that you could have lived. And that is hell on earth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I knew that I was like all summer. I posted this, but I walked by the water. Remember we did that call and you're like, man, Ashley is like walking really fast. And I was like stress walking every single day at the water because I could see God standing in the middle of the ocean being like, come out here. And I was like, no, I'm going to get wet. I'm going to fall in the water. I take one step. And I was like, I could hear him being like, you take one step and you're going to find out that I got you, that you don't fall in.
Hmm.
But I just resisted and resisted until that day on the staff call. And I think I just blurted out, I was like, I'm going to be done. I'm going to put an end date on my business and it's going to be this time.
We're all just like, okay.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was prepared for that. But the funniest part about it was that I still put my plan on it at this time.
Hmm.
And then last week, God was like, no, give it to me right now.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah.
no.
Last week was a doozy for you. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it was a lot. But what I actually want to ask you about today was your journey coming into this, because I realized that I don't know your journey. And I thought about this one moment with you, and it was in January. I was in Hawaii on my company's like leadership meeting, and you did a call on quantum leaps. I don't know if you remember this. That call blew my mind. And you did this, there was this picture where it was a vertical steps, like step, 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 step vertically. And then you had a quantum leap where it went out the side of the bottom step and whipped around to the top. So it was like a
Mm,
ladder. And it was like you were showing quantum leaps. And I remember looking at this image being like, how does he know that? Like, how does he know what that looks like? Like, I understand what it looks like now because you were able to put it into an image. And so I know now as I've gone through it that you've gone through this.
yeah, I
And
see.
I want to hear about it.
Okay. Where would you like me to start?
So I want to start, I'm going to pull you back. I know about your upbringing, but give us a little recap about your
Yeah,
childhood, your upbringing, because like I was raised with spirituality. I don't think you were.
no,
Am
not
I
at
wrong?
all.
Okay.
Nope, not at all. I had no indoctrination to the church, no talks of spirituality, no sense of a higher energy, purpose. It was pretty much like you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. You're good with what you got. Single mom, trailer park, had to put a tarp on the roof when it rained so that rain wouldn't fall through while I was sleeping. Um, my mom, I she'll never admit this, but I believe my mom wanted a daughter, so she would dress me up as a girl with all of her friends and would essentially gaslight me that everybody thought it was so cool how I could dress up this way and be so goofy and not care. So I learned from a very early age that I am only accepted when I am extremely flamboyant and feminine.
Hmm.
And you pair that praise with the absence of a father, no real masculine leadership. And I had a very confusing time navigating life, navigating dating, navigating women and men. And it was very hard. I always felt extremely intimidated by other men, especially if they were in the military, because my father was in the military. So I had to create this story about my father to make me feel better that why he wasn't there. Um, I'd convinced myself, and it's so interesting that when you tell yourself the same story over and over again, you believe it, even if you know it was a lie at first. And so I had created this story to all of my friends that my father had told me that he wanted me to join the military and go die so that I could bring some honor to our family name because he was so disappointed in the fact that I was a dancer because I was a dancer at the time, I was a hip hop instructor. And so I created that. I made that up. That never even happened. But it was like it was what I needed to do to justify in some way, shape, or form to people of, oh, well, this is why my father's not around. He's an awful person. Because for some
Hmm.
reason, I felt like people were judging me for not having him. And so,
You
that's
feel
that's
like
kind of,
you judged yourself for it, do you think? Like you
well,
were,
when I grew up in the school system, you this I didn't grow up when you were like, oh, just let them be. If they want to take a shit in a litter box, it's all good. We accept you for who you are. Like if I told my teacher when I was in school that I wanted to shit in a litter box, she would have smacked me in the face.
yep.
And so it's like I had a big target on my back in the school system because I was loud, I would fight, and I they knew I didn't have a father. So you hear
Mm.
whispers when they're talking about you. Right.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for him. He doesn't even have a father. No wonder he's fucked up. No wonder and so it was like,
Hmm.
oh, everything that I do that's wrong, people are saying it's because I don't have a father. So I need to make sure that people know that my father's a bad person so that they don't think that I'm the bad person. And it was like that was my only real way to justify the deep rooted sense of not being able to answer the question for why was I not enough for my father to stay.
Wow.
And that I have a relationship with my father now, but we've still never had that conversation. Um, yeah, so it's hard.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to navigate when you're growing up and your mother doesn't really know how to love you because she never learned how to love herself because your grandmother was just an angry old woman who only knew how to tear people apart. And so thus I saw from an early age generational trauma. I didn't understand what I was looking at, but I could see it clear as day. And I just knew there was something different that I needed to do. I was always the rebel. I was always looking at how my family was going about life. And even though I had no concept of what the rest of the world looked like we didn't have cable, I didn't have internet, I didn't have a smartphone. I was for me, the trailer park is what the world was. I had no concept that cities existed. I had no concepts that 20-story apartment buildings were real. I'd never seen one in my entire life. Like, it's just a crazy concept to think about.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a tiny little campground that was a half campground, half trailer park in the mountains of California.
Wow,
Yeah, I mean, it
that's
was
isolated.
it was isolated. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, long story short, that was my upbringing. That rambled a little more than that than I intended
Oh,
to
I'm
on.
so glad for that ramble. I was locked in on
Um,
that.
so I just, basically I started working right out of high school, a little bit during high school, and I could never, ever, ever be successful. Or actually, I was being too successful in most of my roles and I was pissing off my bosses. So I worked at Kmart, but I was just men's fashions. So once I had my entire department folded, cleaned, organized, everything put back, and I'm just sitting there, I was like, okay, well, the sport department is messed up. So let me walk over there, let me make these shelves better. And then my boss would come over and be like, why the hell are you not in your section? And I said, well, because I'm done with everything. And they said, it doesn't matter, get to your section. I'm like, why are you penalizing me for doing more work? It just makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
And so this one shift, I was going into Kmart and I got in a car accident on the way there, coming home from Vegas with a bunch of friends, called my manager and said, hey, this is what happened. Just want to let you know I might be late. And she was like, well, if you're going to be late, you might as well not even show up and come to work anymore. And I was like, fuck. Okay. Like, I was like, gotta get there. I gotta get there. And like, I had a neck burn from the seat belt. I was limping on my hip. And I got in to work on time, clocked in, and I'm limping around Kmart doing stuff. And we all get to the front desk, and we did like a little team huddle. And she had said something about like, well, you're kind of being worthless right now because you're not like X, Y, and Z. And I literally said, are you fucking kidding me? And I grabbed my name tag and I ripped it off my neck and I threw it on the ground and I walked out. And she said, you forgot to clock out. And I said, I fucking quit. And I walked out
Ooh.
and I never came back. Um, so I don't want to say I've always had a problem with leadership. I've always had a problem with people who are bosses and not leaders. And
Mm, dang.
and so I could never understand the concept of not allowing me to do work to my fullest ability for the sake of not making yourself seem smaller. It just didn't I just couldn't work for other people. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't have somebody micromanaging me and like cutting off my wings, clipping my wings, so to speak. And so I ended up working at started to do the fitness coaching thing, personal trainer, ended up having this guy tell me, "Hey man, I'm about to open up a big gym. I'd love for you to partner with me." And I'm like, "Holy fucking shit, are you serious? I'm 19 years old and I'm about to co-own a gym? Amazing. Obviously, I don't need to sign a contract or anything at all for that. I'll just take you as your word." So I build this guy's whole gym out, get a bunch of clients and members signed up, and then he pulls me into his office one day and he fucking reams my ass. How dare you tell people this is your gym? I was like, "What?" He said, you told me this was our gym. He said, It's not your gym. You're the manager." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I thought I owned it." Well, if I'm a manager, like, what's my salary? And he goes, "I'm not going to pay you. I'll let you keep all the money you make from training your clients, but you have to manage the gym." And I'm going, "Okay, cool. Like, that's fine." So I'm training people and then I have to leave my sessions to go check people in, sign people up, give people gym tours while I'm supposed to be personal train. It was crazy,
Wow.
actually. And so yeah, the man ran my life to the point where if he called me and I saw his name on my phone, my heart right into my stomach. And he ruled me. And that was the first time I really saw exactly what I will never be. I will never be that. I didn't know what I was going to be, but I know I won't be that. So he fired all of us on a Sunday night, right before I have 5 a.m. clients. And I'm like, fuck, we got to figure something out. So we find this guy's like little backyard garage thing that had a wrestling mat, like two 15-pound
Yeah.
dumbbells, a rusty barbell. And he's like, I don't know, can you guys use this? I said, yep, no problem. And so me and another one of the trainers, we trained out of there for a month, trained all of my clients. Everybody was happy for the most part. And that was the first time that I had really seen full force how hard people go for you when you show up for them. Because my clients
But you
were
know,
everything.
what you did there, I want to touch on because I talk about this all the time, is what I call it is figure out ability. It is your ability to figure out anything as long as you're willing to help people. Like
Yeah.
you knew that you needed to serve people and you were like, I'll figure this out. Like you did not have notice. You got fired that night. You had a place to train them in the morning.
Yeah.
Like your ability to just like not be taken out to be like, I got this. I'll figure this out. I'll figure this out. Like that is what takes most people out is they
Totally.
forget they have the ability to just figure out hard things.
Well, it's like you have pivots, right? You have forks in the road at multiple parts of your life. And so right there was a fork in my road. I could go back to teaching dance. I could go back to working at the Boys and Girls Club. I could go back to all of these jobs that want me. I can go back to serving. I can go back to a family-owned restaurant that really good friend's family-owned restaurant. But I could go back and get all these works, or I could fucking make good on my promise to these people and get them their result. And so
Yeah.
in that moment, there was not even that conversation, fork in the road, didn't even exist in my mind. And I think that's really important for people to understand. That all happened. I didn't go, holy fuck, I need to go find another job. I went, oh shit, I got to figure out where to train my clients. There was no back out. Like genuinely, I'm not saying this to be cool or anything. Like there was no thought in my mind of, oh shit, I need to go get a different job. It was just I got to figure this out. And so, long story short, one of the other trainers' father-in-laws ends up reaching out and says, "Hey, I'll invest $20,000. Could you build a gym for $20,000?" And in my mind, I'm like, "What the fuck? Absolutely not." But I said, "Yep." So this dude gave us 20 grand, and we had a month before the payments start back. So I found a little warehouse, rented it out. Was I had like 18 different lists of gym equipment, trying to price gouge and find the cheapest this and the cheapest that. And I ordered everything curbside delivery, no professional installation, so that I save as much money as possible. And so I'm there pulling all of these huge things in with a fucking Allen wrench, trying to put all this gym equipment together. I've got no
Yeah.
no warranty on any of the stuff, and we fucking did it. We did it. And so at the age of 21, I opened up my first real business, which was a gym, not because I was like, this is what I'm going to do. It was genuinely because I got pulled into a leadership position. I didn't ask for it. Everybody looked at me and said, Nick, what do we do? I said, I don't
Yeah.
know, but I'll figure it out. I was
I'm
anointed.
pause I'm pausing you here because you just said I got pulled into a leadership position now. Did you always feel like you fit in easily with friends, with groups? You were always included because I've been talking about this lately where I never did, and it was a massive wound for me. Like I would be bartending and I would go to the pub across the street from where I was bartending and I would have like a pre-shift meal and a drink, and I would walk up and the entire next shift staff is sitting on the patio together. And
Yeah.
they'd be like, Ashley, come and sit. And I'm like, I would rather die. I'd rather walk across this road blind than sit down at a table that I was not invited to. Like you messaged literally you looked at the next shift list and were like, let's all get together. And you didn't message me.
Yeah.
And so that was always my experience. I've been talking with a lot of people where like they struggle with this wound of like, include me, include me. And I'm like, I don't think you're meant to be easily absorbed. I think you're meant to lead.
It it's tough. I think that's a huge collective wound of almost every high achiever because
Hmm.
there's a certain level of, we'll call it neurodivergence, that makes you operate in a way that is not considered normal. And when you say like my friends, I have amazing friends. My friend group in Austin is absolutely incredible, and I'm still not the person who gets invited to the small things.
Hmm.
I don't have the 2 to 3 people that always reach out for us to go hang at their apartment or whatever. I'm really only included in the bigger group things. And that does hurt. It
Yeah.
does that I don't get texts for people to hang out throughout the week. Most of the weekends I spend by myself. And that's cool. But there's this, my friends are all aware of this. Like, I'm going to say the thing that most people aren't going to say, and I'm not even going to realize that I'm saying it. So I'm a very straightforward person. I almost like don't have that social filter, which does very well for me in business, but it makes it a little more challenging from a interpersonal relationship standpoint because people know if they invite you around, they have less wiggle room to show up inauthentically. They have less wiggle room to kind
Yes.
of lie or gossip or anything because I'm just the
Yeah.
type of person who's kind of like, well, did they really say that? I don't think they would say that. I'm gonna ask them. Let me ask them if they said that real quick. And then people are like, whoa, what are you talking about? That's drama. I'm like, I don't think that that's drama. We're saying that this person said it and it's a negative connotation. Why wouldn't we call them and ask them if that's really what they said and just squash it? So you
Yeah.
take somebody who operates like that, and that's not normal. Like it's just not. It's not normal to
Yeah.
operate that way. And I accept that. So I mean, to answer your question, yes, I do struggle with the fact that I never really have a place that feels like home. Like it's kind of like I stand in the circle of people until I realize my time is up, and then I drift over to the next circle of people. And then my
Ooh.
time is up, and then I drift over to the next circle of people, and then I realize I'm the only one changing circles.
Yeah, that hit me in the throat just now. I feel like puking. Yeah, that's been my experience too, and I would wager that it's a lot of people's experience on this call. I had a conversation with my husband the other day, and I was like, I think that I'm meant to have like just very few friends. Like I have one close friend in my city and
Yeah.
another one on the island, and I have a few sprinkled here or there, but I was like, I think there might be like five total. And I said, I was like, I think it's because I'm very intense. Like I don't
Yeah.
have like a sit down and make small talk and just waste time. I'm like, I'm an intense person.
Yeah.
And I'm also neurodivergent, which when you said that, I was like, oh, makes so much sense. Like, I don't just go with the flow of conversation. Like, I'm going to talk to you on a real level.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
not a
and like
lot of people are like that.
and I can fully acknowledge the fact that that can be very exhausting for people who want just surface level conversations. And it's like,
Exactly.
yeah, I don't want to get called out on my shit. I just want to enjoy that. And it's like, I'm sorry. When I see it, I say it, basically. And that's just how I'm wired. And so I,
Yeah.
again, acknowledge that that is probably a large variable in why I don't get invited to smaller
Yeah.
things. And that's
But
okay.
you also call yourself out on your own things. And so it's like for me, it's different if you're just calling people out on their things and you're like, right, but I'm like, I see you, I know you, you do it to yourself. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, right. So it's like if you are at the level of like ownership and awareness where you are constantly up leveling yourself and holding yourself accountable and you have a high standard for yourself, it's instinct to do it for other people too. And like you did it for me as a coach, where you said some hard things to me when I started working with you. And I
Yeah.
honestly like got off the call and I was like, man, this guy, who does
Yeah.
this guy think he
Does this
is?
guy think he is? Yeah, always.
And then essentially, like you gave me that ability to have those hard conversations with myself and hold me to that standard too. So as I climbed the standard ladder in my life, the people who didn't meet it or the people who didn't want to come with me fell away. Like all
Yeah.
of a sudden I didn't fit there anymore. And so I was faced with this reality of like leaving environments and people quite quickly and almost like it was being like ripped away and it felt like a bad thing, but sitting on this side of it, I'm like, oh girl, that was growth. That
Yeah.
was that was a good thing and it's just fewer people come with you.
Yeah. Change is never bad. That's a big statement that's helped me a lot in my life. Change is never bad.
Yeah. Okay, I've got a heavy question for you up next.
Okay.
So you were raised, uh, honestly, like a lot of your upbringing, like not the trailer park, but like I did a lot of years single mom life. Like my dad had to give me a bike trailer to bike my kids around to preschool because I couldn't afford to book. I remember 142.9. I was like, I had a black Golf, and I was like, oh, we're not putting gas in her this summer. I cannot afford it because it is food or gas. And I bartended weekends, and I was just doing whatever I could to scrape by. So like your childhood hits for me really hard, and I know that I could have stayed in that spot that your mom did. I know I sat there for like 10 years, and my point of like growth was when I was like, oh, I don't have to be a victim of this. I'm just acting like it.
Right.
But because you weren't raised spiritually, when did that come into play for you? Like, when were you like, Oh, introduction to God.
Yeah, it's a really good question. My mom worked at a Catholic church my whole childhood, actually. And she saw that what the pastor preached and what the pastor lived were two very different things.
Mhm.
So my mom was like, I'm not letting my son be anywhere around this. Like my son's not going to church and doing all of that. Absolutely not. So like I grew up around the church, but not in the church, if that makes sense. So I guess I kind of had this initial conditioning that most people are just like Jesus freaks. Like that was kind of like a word that my mom said, like, it's like all these people are just like going here pretending that they're good people. And for a large majority of people, that still is the truth. I've never
Yep.
met somebody more judgmental than somebody who identifies as a religious person.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I think like, I had a lot of times in my life. I don't know why this just came up for me. Like I would pray to God when I was like puking at the high school party. You know what I mean? Like God, please, I'll never
Mm.
drink again. If you just let this go away, if you just make me
We
stop puking, I
we
promise I'll be
call that
good.
bargaining
Yeah.
spirituality. You're like, I step into it when I need something, you give it
Yeah.
to me and I'll back up.
Yeah. I'm like praying to the porcelain God, please, please. No, but in all actuality, I think it was really the first time I used psychedelics was the first time that I really experientially heard, felt, saw God. And everything up to that point was pretty much all constructs of the ego in some way, shape, or form, talking about the universe and this and that and all that. And so it's like when you haven't like this is just my perception because I found God through being led to him on my own, not from other people saying this is God, this is how you position and orient around him.
I think
So
that's the best way.
yeah, so my relationship with God is incredibly
Yeah.
sacred to me. And it's like there's not really anybody who can tell me otherwise because that is how he revealed like that's how God revealed himself to me. What do you mean you're going to tell me that that's not true because of what's written in the Bible? Like I lived it. You can't tell me that that's not true. So over time, I had that experience, but I was still more like, oh, it's the universe. Oh, it's the universe. And then I almost committed suicide because I had built a life that I hated and didn't know who I was without it. Was in the backyard of my home and held a gun barrel to my head. And
Oh.
right before I pulled the trigger, I heard no,
Oh.
and it freaked me out. And I like jump scared and turned around. I thought somebody was sitting in my backyard, and nobody was there. So it like shook me enough to realize, holy shit, what the fuck was I about to do? I went back to bed. And then I moved back to San Diego. And maybe a couple weeks later, I had three different friends who didn't know each other all send me the same video within 10 minutes. Hadn't talked to any of them. All three of them
Mm.
sent me the same video, and it was a montage promotional video for an all men's church retreat happening in 2 weeks at an amazing church in San Diego, still the best church I've ever been to in my entire life, called Awaken. And I went to Emerge, and there's 3,000 men at this all men's conference, which already in itself was bringing up a lot of wounds for me because I'm not comfortable around men. I've always been more comfortable around women because I wasn't raised around men. So I immersed myself and I'm like, okay, here we fucking go. All these fucking weird ass Jesus lover fucking shit. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. It's a non denominational Christian church. So I walked in and I said, I will be a Christian man for this weekend. And I walked in and we're sitting around the stage and the pastor's preaching and he says, hey, everybody lift your hands. The Holy Spirit's in the room. And I'm like, okay. I lift my hands.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. And I lift my hands and I just, I full humility said, God, if you're real, I really need to know right now. And right as I said that, somebody grabbed my arm and like turned me around, and I opened my eyes, and nobody was there.
Mhm.
And I felt these shivers. They went down my spine and then up. And I was like, whoa. And so I closed my eyes again and I said, okay, if you're real, then why? Why did you just put me through what I just went through? Because in 1 week's time, I had lost my home, my business, my social life, my friends, my girlfriend, my dog. Somebody had stolen $250,000 of crypto from a wallet. Like I just got cleaned out. I said, why would you put me through all that? And I never had heard more distinct words because you weren't paying attention. And he said, I needed to flip your life upside down so that you would come to me. And he said, well, I've been asking you to build something
Hmm.
and you've been ignoring me. And what I'm asking you to build is too big for you. And that's why I need you to prioritize a relationship with me because I need you to feel what it's like to walk through life with a father that loves you unconditionally.
Well, when God wanted to make David a king, he didn't give him a castle, he gave him Goliath.
Yep. Yeah. And so, yeah, that was, I just got chills again. And that was like, for me, I think in that moment, my truth became I realized that God will show up as whoever you need him to be in that moment or whatever you need him to be in that moment to
Yeah.
change your heart posture. So for me,
Yes.
he came in the form as a father. Maybe for someone else, he comes in the form of a partner. Maybe for somebody else, he comes in the form of an opportunity. Maybe he comes in the form of the universe giving you a sign. And so,
You just connected something for me so hard, I just lost my breath a little bit. Yeah. Whew.
what was it?
Came as a partner for me, showed me what it was to be loved unconditionally, and I had never experienced that before,
Mm. So
ever.
he is God. Like that
Yeah.
is God. And you can find God every time you just lean into your marriage. And that's what a gift.
Yeah,
What
but it wasn't even I'll go through mine a little bit when you're done. Because my experiences, I was raised in the church. My experience is so similar to yours, but just I fell out because of out of the church. And I'm gonna let you finish that because mine's man, I need to a second to think. But you, literally, I'm glitching right now. You can hear me glitching from what you just connected for me. And I was like, okay.
I'll I'll finish my thought. And so I think it's like I almost laugh when people tell me something along the lines of, oh, well, you're going to upset God, or, oh, do you take Jesus as your Lord and Savior? If not, then everything that you know about God is a lie. And I'm just like, do you like genuinely do you hear yourself right now? Like you're telling me that because I'm not being 100% perfect and doing things the way that you were taught to do them, that you're gonna invalidate the fact that my eternal Father came to me, spoke life into me, and made me feel more loved than I've ever felt in my entire life. That's what you're going to tell me. And so it's like, I know you're not walking with a good heart posture because you're trying to manipulate mine.
Hmm.
The goal of everything is to bring everybody into connection and oneness with God. Is it not?
It is. Yeah.
So then it's like, if that is the goal, why would how I got there matter?
It doesn't make sense to them, so it makes them uncomfortable, and then
Right.
they judge right away.
I remember when I made a post one time talking about how I wasn't religious, but I was spiritual and what that meant to me and how my relationship with God was so profound. And I had pastors reaching out to me asking if I was willing to be saved. I was like, you are exactly why people run from the church.
People don't understand that religion is the confine, spirituality is the connection, right? Religion is the walls between you and God. It is come in, here are rules. And
Yeah.
the base of religion is fear, shame, and guilt, and
Oh,
that's what it circulates in.
but I'm like, look, God be talking to me a lot.
Hmm.
I know when I'm doing something that's in alignment and not.
Yeah.
I don't need your judgment. I don't need your projections. Like if I'm genuinely not supposed to be doing something or am supposed to be doing something, God will tell me because my heart is postured towards God, not towards you.
100%. And I think that people get so firmly rooted inside of religion and inside of the word that they use it to manipulate their ideas and they use it to judge
Totally.
others, right? They're like, no, I put the word through my filter and it makes
Yep.
sense to me like this, and you're doing something that isn't like this. So you're wrong. Let me save you.
As such, you just described the entire human experience. You are
I
doing
feel like
something
that.
that is not in alignment with how I view the world. You're dangerous. You're wrong. I couldn't
Yep.
possibly check myself. I couldn't possibly accept that everything that I've held on to as a belief that's guided me my whole life could possibly be wrong or misinterpreted. No way. Everybody who doesn't believe the same thing I do is bad, evil. The devil has his mind.
Yeah. My dad's a pastor and he was our university Christian chaplain. And he made, pardon me, he made people really uncomfortable. And honestly, like as his child, I was always just kind of like, oh my gosh, like what is my dad going to do or say next? That's just going to be awkward because he led faith with one rule, and it was love. And he's like, if you can't do this, you have lost the plot. And that is not how a lot of religion works. So he was what I would call a disruptor now in the church.
I mean, even just real quick, like what you just said is blasphemy. Like the fact that, oh, my father preached that it all comes from a place of love, or you've missed the point, and people were mad at that or didn't agree
Yeah.
with them, is blasphemous. Like it's we live
Yeah.
like, do you guys hear yourselves? God is unconditional love. So
Mhm.
therefore, everything he created is a byproduct of unconditional love. Anything that's not unconditional love by nature is a lie. It is a delusion created by the human dysfunction, which is the ego.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But we were raised in church, and every Sunday there we were taking our list. And I remember growing up, and it was just part of my life. And um, when I was 8 years old, I stood on the balcony at my church, and I went to a Pentecostal church. And I don't know if you know much about those, but they're out there. They are praying, they are shaking, they're falling down. And I remember looking down, and actually, I didn't remember this. This was a memory that was unlocked to me in breathwork, where God was showing me where I disconnected myself from Him
Mm,
because I was scared. He's like, you got scared here and you put up a wall. When you put up that wall, I couldn't reach you because the wall was so thick. I couldn't, like, I used to scream at God. And like the last time I remember doing it like in my Bronco. So, like, within the last 2 years, just screaming, driving on the highway, like, why can't I feel peace?
mm,
And he was like, you can't feel peace because you can't feel me. And he reconnected that for me in my first breathwork session. But I disconnected myself from religion, from God, because I experienced so much what I will call hardship in the church, like being a single mom, taking my girls to church, and there's an older church, and they'd be like, "Well, where's your husband?" And there's
yeah,
my dad. Why, that's your business? And I was like, "Dang, Dad, thank you so much," because I'm sitting here like, can I not be here? Am I not allowed to come?
right. It's like literally the most judgmental place on the planet is
Ah,
inside of.
and that's the thing. I was like, why would I want to put my children in here? Why would I want to put myself in this environment every day when I'm not feeling God? I'm feeling judged. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
stopped going. I was like, that's a no.
It's funny, like just to play on that of like, where's your husband? Where's your husband? Like I'm 31, I'm almost 32, I'm single. And so there's a lot of conversations that I have with people around that, like, oh, like, what do you not want to settle down, or do you want, you want kids, or you getting kind of, up there? And I'm like, first of all, I feel so incredibly young. It's insane. Like, I don't even feel anything near that. But it's like, I know so many people who got married young and got divorced.
Hmm.
And so many people, I saw this piece of content where this person was like, I'm being judged for being single at 30, I think he was 36, for 36. And yet this person who just went on and said she was married and in the wrong relationship and stayed for 16 years longer than she should have is being told she did life right. And that's the
Yeah.
disconnect. It's the indoctrination of the church. No, you must. get married, have children, etc. And thus, you're going to end in a divorce.
I stayed in an abusive relationship for 6 years because, oh, I have to keep the family whole. Oh, if I leave, that's not good. I'm breaking up the family. That's not going to be good for my kids. You know, it was bad for my kids, what they were witnessing every day.
A woman not standing up for herself. Absolutely. And so it's like, but you go into this like, I think we have a lot of societal pressure to find love, get married, buy the house, have the kids, be more successful than we are. And that's where everybody stays stuck. Everybody's so paralyzed with, I have to do things the right way or the world's going to tear me down. I'm going to get judged. I'm going to get ostracized. I'm going to be an outcast. And we're a tribe species. We are biologically, from an evolutionary standpoint, engineered to fit in for survival. That is
Herd
survival.
mentality.
Yeah, being a part of the tribe is survival. So you take people like us and probably like a lot of people listening to this podcast who, if they were to tap into their gifts, would more than likely be alienated from their current tribe. And that feels like a threat to survival. But if people only accept you for a version of you that's not true to you, that's not really love.
That's a hard thing to wrap your mind around, though. And I just went through this where
Yeah.
I was so accepted when I looked the way and sounded the way that I made people comfortable and fit in with the herd. But when I was myself, when I didn't want to do the content that was what was wanted, I was, oh, that's, come on, just do it. And I finally got to a point where I was like, I don't owe anybody content that I will not use because it does not align. I will
Yeah.
not change. I will not get the bag because it's the gift for the level. I don't value that. And I will not be shamed for it. Like, that's such a crazy thing to shame somebody for. And I remember when that happened, and someone was like, do you think it's just because you still have like your single mom mentality and you think that you don't deserve it? And I was like, no, I think it's because I lose my things and I shouldn't have a $3,500 bag. That's irresponsible for me. I'll leave it in the grocery store. Like, I can't.
I'm with you. Like I'm just not I'm not I mean, you know this. I buy fake Rolexes to be funny. Like I love trolling people with that stuff. I'm not a materialistic person. The only pairs of sunglasses I've ever bought for myself, I've lost. So I
Yeah.
yeah, I just like
Everything's
I
like,
don't I'm cool
it's,
with nicer clothes. Like I just recently upgraded my closet and I feel great. I
I
love
was so proud of you for that. They all look amazing.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had enough of the women in my life, the women council being like, "All right, Nick, like you make enough money. It's time to get your shit together." And like but I appreciated that. I appreciated nobody sitting here trying to say like you need to go buy nicer watches or that. It was just like, hey, like you can buy some nicer clothes for yourself. And that feels great. I love getting dressed now. It makes me feel powerful. It puts me into a position. And I didn't break the bank to upgrade my wardrobe. It's not like I'm gonna lose a shirt. I'm wearing it,
Yeah.
you
But
know?
it
And
also is like you're speaking, you are representing your business, your mission, your purpose, and looking that part and what you just said, like I feel powerful, like that goes into what you're doing. So I actually agree with that. Like you should look your part.
yeah. And so yeah, I just think like we we miss the forest for the trees a lot of times. We're worried about the presentation and we're not really too worried about the context of what's being presented.
Yeah. Well, we outsource our worth to that thing. It's like, well, I feel more worthy. I feel more this when I have that bag, when I have that watch. And for you, it's like, no, I can put on a nice outfit, but even if I was in my just my sweatpants, I know who I am. I'm rooted in my worthiness. Like I know that. Where most people need that external thing to be like, look how worthy I am. Look how successful I am. And like your success comes out of your mouth. You radiate it. And it's in the way that you lead your people. Like it's a living embodiment. You don't need to put on a watch to be like, I'm so successful.
Right. Yeah, there's an amazing quote from one of my old mentors, Erwin McManus. He says, people would rather be envied for their material success than respected for their character. And that is why people are poor.
Hmm. Yeah.
You can't wear character on your wrist.
No,
You
you
just
did a training about that once and it floored me. You're like, do you really want the Lamborghini or do you want the Lamborghini to represent the character that you lack?
Mhm. Right.
And I was like, oof, Nick's bars.
where we lack depth, we make up for with showmanship. And so it's like if I'm lacking depth in who I am, I'm gonna wear a flashier watch. I'm gonna wear flashier jewelry. I'm gonna try to get attention from these things. Like, and there's nuance to this, obviously, right? I know
Yes.
some very grounded people that wear $500,000 watches on their wrist because for them it's a spiritual thing, right? Like one of my old mentors, Dan Martell, he has a $500,000 watch that he wears on his wrist because the hourly rate to have $1 billion company is 500,000 an hour. So he looks
Ooh,
at that.
representation.
So he
Hmm.
looks at that time and he goes, "Am I doing what's necessary to get myself to that $1 billion company?" Love it.
Yes.
Makes total sense to me, right? Like that
Yep.
right there. That's a man that knows what he's doing, why he's doing it. He's not trying to prove it to anybody.
No, he's incentivizing himself. He's not incentivizing the
Like,
world to work with him through it.
exactly. And so like that's why I say there's nuance to this type of stuff, right? Because somebody could be like, "Oh, well, you think, he wears a $500,000 watch, and so
No.
you're saying that he wants it for attention." It's like, no, Dan's also worth like $200 million. So, a
I also
500.
hate that we have to like live in a world where like there's nuance. It's like yes, there always is. It's only when you're trying to like grade something and pick it apart where you're like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? And it's like,
Did
yeah,
you
we
see did you
know.
see that post that I put in Slack of that guy trying to cancel me?
No.
So I made a piece of content maybe a week ago, and I said the hook was nobody should take you seriously if you're overweight. I said it,
Ooh,
and then
spicy.
I said to my niche, if you're an entrepreneur in a leadership position and you're trying to convince people to trust you, buy from you to lead them through a transformation, and you're overweight, why would they trust you? Like you're not showing up for yourself, so how would I trust that you're showing up for me? And
Hmm.
so this guy clips just the hook. Nobody should take you seriously if you're overweight. And then he goes on this whole spiel about how this guy is a failed business coach. This guy's all his content is just rage bait to get engagement. These are the worst type of people, and just fabricates this whole thing. And it cracked me up because the mental gymnastics that you had to go through to take that video and say, what about people with disabilities? What about people who, because I said you can always control your body, right? Your body is always in your control. And they're like, oh, so what about the people who are amputees? And I'm like, do you realize it is so incredibly complicated to defend failure? And it is so incredibly simple to succeed. Like you have to go and grab all of these fabrications and try to find all of these pit holes in what I said. That's how I know it was the truth because
Yep.
the truth defends itself. If you love
Yep.
yourself, you will naturally calibrate your body to reflect that self-love. The more you love yourself, the better shape you will get in. Now they're like, "Oh, well, you're gonna fucking starve yourself," and I'm like, you don't have to starve yourself to be a healthy body weight, right? Like,
You shouldn't
like
actually.
you
You're
know, you
feeding
can
yourself
actually
well.
you can actually eat a decent amount of fucking food. It's just not deep fried.
Yep. But the thing
So
is that they
nuance.
it's so dicey. And like, even when you say that, I'm like, I know there are people listening to this that are cringing right now. But what I've stepped into lately also is being so rooted in that truth where how you look after yourself is a representation of self-love. It is self-respect
Totally.
to show up for yourself like that. And like, you are a walking billboard. You are an embodiment of what you are talking about.
You don't become 300 pounds from self love. You become 300 pounds from lacking self love. This doesn't
Hmm.
mean that you are inferior as a person. This doesn't mean that you don't deserve love. It means that you are clearly not giving it to yourself. Now, everybody can complain. Well, you don't know. Some people have trauma. Some people, yes, 100%. And trauma has made you remove the love from yourself. But the only person who can give that to yourself is yourself. And so,
Yeah,
if we can just take true agency and stop outsourcing the blame, it's all I'm trying to do for people. And the truth really feels like an attack when somebody's not willing and ready to take it in. You're not really willing
100%.
to accept the truth. It feels like an attack. If you feel attacked, it's because you're not ready to take the truth in. That's okay. Has nothing to do with me. That's between you and the truth. I'm just delivering the truth. So
100%.
if you decide I'm going to love myself today, what happens the next time you try to avoid an emotion? Maybe you don't reach for the Pop Tarts. Maybe you sit with yourself. and you hold yourself. You say,
That
"Where
was
is it?"
actually an incredibly hard shift for me. Not
Yeah.
not with eating, but with I would distract myself. I would look for dopamine. So it would be like I subconsciously I would grab my phone or I would, and I remember
Yep.
the first time I did it actually was not long ago. And it was like I had trained myself and I was such an act, but then I did it naturally, standing in my kitchen about like I want to say like 5 months ago, and I was feeling emotion coming up and I just stopped what I was doing and I stood in my kitchen and I just held myself and I just moved it through and I cried and like it just came out and I like had a bit of a sob and then I was like, okay, I actually feel a lot better. Great. And then I stopped and I was like, oh my gosh, that was a pattern change. Instead of
Miyagi.
turning away from it, I turned into it and was like, let's go. Like, come on out. You're safe here.
Yeah, and thus you just described what it looks like when you operate from a place of self-love. And it's like, again, people can just argue all day long. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. I didn't say it was easy, but it is simple.
Yeah. Now, as we climb to an hour here, I want to ask you about how you found this purpose of service-led business, because it is also my purpose of
Yeah.
sending more people who are using their business for light and love in this world. Because as you know, we won't get too far into things here, but like there is a lot of darkness in this world. And my dad actually, when he was teaching us, because my dad would teach siblings, there's five of us, he would give us like spiritual teachings and he described the world and like the kingdom of heaven so well to me because I'm such a tactical person. Like that's why I learned from you so well. Because I'm like, no, but tactically, like put it in so I can see it. And he said to me, he's like, when we look at the world and heaven, he's like, the world is the dominion of darkness. And there is also the kingdom of heaven and the bridge is God. But he's like, we're all born of God, of light, into the dominion of darkness, where we are as babies. And you know how like kids are super crazy sometimes, and we'll just like see things and say things, and you're like, dang, because
Mhm.
they're so close to that other side still. But as
Yeah.
we're born, we're like shaped by these people who have been in the world and of the darkness. And when I say darkness, I don't mean like heavy spiritual darkness always, but like darkness, like negativity and smallness and, like
Totally.
confines and limits. And we get it like
Yeah.
squashed.
Guilt, shame, empathy. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like we get it squashed out of us. And so for me, like using business as a tool for to spread more light in this dominion of darkness, of like helping people step into their power out of their smallness, showing them that like they have the ability to love themselves and to choose their thoughts and to choose their path and to have real connection with God. That is a powerful purpose in this world.
Yeah.
So how did you come into that? How were you like business is the tool that I'm going to use to do this because you are doing it well?
Thank you. So I now use business as a tool to breathe life into the world because business was also the thing that almost took mine.
Mm,
So I had built my business through the lens of self hate, unworthiness, and trying to prove that I was worth something, anything. I wasn't building anything to serve. I was building monuments for myself so that people would worship me. Because if I was in a position to be worshipped, I wouldn't be abandoned. If I was everything for everyone, if I could create codependency on the people that I quote unquote served, they would never leave me. And so the more successful I got, the more unworthy I felt.
mm,
When you've convinced yourself your whole life that being a millionaire will buy you love, buy you happiness, buy you acceptance, and you make $1 million and nothing changes, something does change, but it's inside of you and it's not anything good. And you go, okay, I'm still not enough here. So maybe 5 million's the goal. Then maybe it's 10. Okay, maybe it's 20. And then eventually you get to this point where you can buy anything and everything, and none of it makes you feel different. And at that point, what do you have to live for? Nothing.
Yeah.
So I thought, on paper, I have everything that almost any entrepreneur could ever want: millions of dollars, supercar, big house, big business, social influence, sponsorships, time freedom, a team of people. Everybody thinks I have it all, that I'm the man. Perfect. But why do I feel like I have nothing? Why do I feel like a prisoner? Why do I feel like I don't want to wake up tomorrow morning? It almost cost me my life because I was making it about me. So I figured, if I can be successful this way, how much more successful could I be teaching people how to do it the right way, bringing them to the light instead of letting them be consumed by the darkness like I was? Because most people, Ashley, pull that trigger.
Hmm.
When most people get that gun to their head, that trigger gets pulled. Mine didn't for some reason. And so my life was spared for a purpose. And as I humbled myself and I started my healing journey for the first time in my life, I started to get the next step revealed. And eventually it led me to the doors of the company that we now work in,
Which is
Impakt. Yeah.
impact. And that is exactly what you're having in this world and what you had on me, honestly, that got me to this point. And I'm going to plug something here, but Nick and I are doing an event at the end of November, and it is going to be called Armed and Anointed for Impact. It is going to be a
Amen.
2-day event. Nick, I'm really hoping that you bring a bunch of copies of your book, which I want you to plug right now too, because I think everybody needs to read it.
Awesome. I appreciate that. I do have to pop off in 1 minute because I have a 90-day planning call. um,
Go to the
I
plus.
so that whole story about me committing suicide or almost committing suicide, putting that gun to my head. When I put that gun down, I picked up the pen and I started writing. So that book, my book Surrender, starts right after that suicide attempt. And so that book, I lived it. It was me walking my way through what it truly meant to surrender to God. And the link's available in my Instagram bio. I wrote it a couple years ago, so it's a little older, but it's finally here and it's ready to make its way into the world. And I hope it serves people the way it served me.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I can confidently say that I will have you back, and it would definitely be worth your guys' time and money to be at that event and come and hang out with us for 2 days as we spread some light in this world through business.
Thanks, Ash.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode. I am so excited to be able to work and speak and share events live with Nick as we have this mission to impact and arm and anoint people to go into this world, to use their business to spread light and to serve. And if that is you, you need to watch out on my Instagram, Armed and Anointed, this week for a ticket link that is coming. They will be $350 for a 2-day event. I hope that we see you there.